Hi, friends. Host Eric here, and I want to talk tonight about what one might call Host Eric's cycle of fightiness. So, I've noticed this in myself. I have a cycle of fightiness, and the cycle of fightiness manifests as if we were to think of it lasting a month, the beginning of the month is a time period in which I am active and positive and more focused on, I guess, telling nice stories to make people feel good. And then the middle of the month, I tend to get fightier. And that manifests as being more willing to spend time battling out specifics of things. So then historically the next stage after the fighty stage is generally a withdrawal stage where I turn my attention to something else because that's stressing me out. Hello. I see your green microphone. I hear sound from you, but I've yet to hear your voice. Well, no stress. Regardless, as I was saying, I'm in this cycle right now where I'm in the fighty phase of things, and I'm currently also experiencing the sense of battle fatigue that I tend to get after fighting people. I mean, the thing is, I often push away friends, people who like me, stuff like that, on the grounds that they just get sick of me, quote unquote, always being right. And I've had people tell me that, but and they mean it like to imply that I think I'm always right, but I'm not really. Like you always got to be right, but I don't know. I mean, at this point, I'm in battle fatigue, so I don't really want to start. I don't want to go over any points, but I will say I'm very,
Maybe
very
you just get
happy.
nitpicky.
Um, I get, so I prioritize concluding a battle over doing something else that's more fun.
Right.
However, I will say I'm very pleased with the video I just made and uploaded about Chad Crandall's video. To me, but this is an example of something that probably frustrates Zachary. I would guess frustrates non-ENTP types immensely. Is someone might point out that video probably isn't going to go over very well. That a lot of people are going to dislike that video. It may cost us some subscribers or something. And
Right.
but I think it's hilarious personally. But I can understand how and so I'm leaving it up there because I think it's fucking hilarious. I I don't know how anybody could watch that and not laugh. But I I also have come to understand that ENTP humor is not necessarily shared by other people.
Is it like inappropriate?
Well, I mean, it's 5 minutes long if you want to watch it. I'm currently sort of talking about. I was talking through my mental progression over the course of a month, from more FE to more TI to more SI, basically.
Right.
Hi, Mr. Haberdasher. I'm currently talking about my transition over the course of a month through a series of fairly predictable cycles of starting with more of an FE focus, NEFE, worried about a lot about being cautious socially, and that after that I become more of a TI focused thing where it doesn't matter about the social thing. I'm more interested in fighting it out, winning the fight or whatever. And then after that, I get into a period of the month where I tend to be a little bit more emotionally volatile. I'd call it the SI stage, where I'm thinking about sad things like my parents growing old and stuff. And then the last stage, I sleep a bunch, and then it starts over again. So I'm in the fighty stage right now. But at least I'm more self-aware of it than I normally am.
Is it a daily daily cycle?
I mean, there are plenty of things that can disrupt the cycle. So I think it's a vector that impacts it, but the actual way it plays out is going to be dependent somewhat on the circumstances too. But I would say that like one of the I get fighty when I've been not engaging in conversations with people for too long. That's one thing that happens. I'm a lot more fighty in text than I am in conversation, as a general rule.
Really?
Yeah. Even though when I have conversations with people, some of those conversations turn into arguments.
Hmm.
I find engaging with the other people much more emotionally stabilizing than anything else it could be.
That makes sense.
It's
I mean, the only
extroverted.
time I get fighty is just, yeah, it's the extrovert thing. The only time I get fighty is just, I guess I get debatey when I'm passionate. That's it.
Right.
I'm not, I'm not that nitpicky about people.
Right. I mean, I think that NTPs in general are not quick to judge. However, I would say INTPs may be prone to judging somebody not worth the trouble.
Yeah. Unless we see like sometimes I do get like small things that people do. I start annoying them about it. But that's only because it's not just that particular thing, that particular behavior. It's just I see something bigger in it, like a bigger connection. So I just started arguing.
Right. Uh, so one of the core issues that gets more or less debated back and forth here, as I see one of the more important factors in understanding what causes disputes, is the thing I was having a dispute with basically between with the video that Chad made, which is it better to prioritize finding common ground, win-win situations, or is it better to prioritize demanding consistency and adjudicating things in terms of who's correct and who's incorrect? And I am firmly in the latter camp.
Hmm.
Do either of you guys have any thoughts on that?
Can
We
it be
build a
like?
wall.
No, we don't build a wall. I think it can it be more nuanced, like maybe a little. I have an idea, and somebody I'm debating with has an idea, and they can be partly right and partly wrong, and I can be partly right and partly wrong, and we can just like we have this mutual understanding of where each other is. Can it be like that?
Well, I think it can be, but that if it is, that just means you guys need to each break down your arguments into their component arguments and determine each of those on its own merits. So, certainly in any dispute, almost for sure, both parties will say things that are true, reasonable, and that they can claim, I'm correct about this point. If the other party doesn't dispute the point, then we never really make note of it. But for sure, there are lots of points that are being made by both sides that are not being disputed and that are considered and deemed correct. So both parties automatically are winning some points if we're not thinking about it as a zero sum thing. Now the issue
Right.
comes down to what about these 2 points where they disagree directly? There's direct clash, and you can't have them both because they're mutually exclusive. What do we do then? That's the real question that matters. Because everything else is easy. It's not really solving a problem. It's not really addressing anything. It's just saying, can't we all just get along? Well, yeah,
Right.
if we're not in direct conflict about something, but if we are in direct conflict about something, if my position and yours are mutually exclusive and only one of us can be right, then that we have to have some means to address that. And we ought to have a methodology by which we determine when and why and where, in which circumstances, the issue of right and wrong versus collaborative win-win, it ought to be prioritized. It's certainly not a universal, and whether or not it's a good idea to prioritize win-win is going to be contingent on a lot of things. I mean, obviously, you want, I want genuine collaborative efforts with everybody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm so much so and so openly and happily participating with anybody that I think people perhaps undervalue it. It's not that I think this is the situation that we've got, like with this MBTV video that I made, is that they've got a channel there where they've done an excellent job of presenting themselves as experts, removed experts, with the knowledge that others can come get from them because their expertise they ought to be listened to and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the channel is actively collaborative. In other words, it says, "Hey, join our community." It does all the things that such sites normally do. But my position is that's constructed. That's not real collaboration because it is trying to control what happens too much, you know?
Yeah.
Well, if we're talking about faulty or misinterpreted MBTI segments, I would just like to admit that I spent about 27 episodes on my YouTube channel making an INTP series without even knowing specifically what I was
Hmm.
until the whole thing. And I guess I just misinterpreted how I saw things.
What are you?
INFP.
Me?
INFP. Okay, that's what I was thinking based on what you were just saying right there. You don't have to agree with me at all, but the fact that you're responding that way suggests you probably are an INFP. But I mean that's my opinion. You know, remember?
I told him like weeks ago.
Yeah, I
I
know, but
told him
oh, you told him the same thing or what?
I told him he wasn't an INTP. I
Oh,
suggested a feeling type, but he didn't believe me.
who didn't? Him or
Remember,
me?
yeah.
Yeah, me.
Well, the point is,
I just hate being wrong sometimes.
well, look. I mean, the thing is, I'm wrong a lot. I'm wrong all the time. But the thing about the reason why it doesn't seem to stick to the ENTP, because I think this is an ENTP habit in general, is we jump on our own wrongness right away, and
Hmm.
we point out and we make a point of explicitly making explicit in public that oh, this is where I was wrong, and this was the mistake I made, and this is how I'm not going to. This is how I'm going to behave differently in the future, because it
Yeah.
allows you to be free from the harms of being wrong. The only harm from being wrong really is fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, unless if being right or wrong could depend on being uh, living or dead. I mean, if there was a bomb in your house and you knew one of two wires could save or kill you, that could be a motivation not to actually die.
Not to be wrong. Well, because you can't learn from that, right? Uh, it, it ends your opportunity from learning from mistakes. It's the mistake you can't learn from.
Yeah,
Like your last
I totally
mistake.
agree.
Yeah, after your last mistake. So anyway, to reframe this according back to the topic, sort of, my point is this: I suspect right now that knowing myself and knowing my psychological progression, I will go to bed at some point. I'll wake up and I'll think to myself, it was probably unwise to put that video up. And I'll say, God damn it, Eric. You need to start making more choosy choices. Because I don't make very choosy choices. I make just sort of, oh, look, that's what I did choices.
Yeah, I totally what's the term? Relate to that because lately I've been finding that I've been getting more views on my channel because I do a specific category or topic, and I have to do those to get more notice, to get more subscriptions and stuff like that.
Yeah, doing on a specific topic will help for sure.
Is it kind of like you, Eric, not putting that video up? Is it kind of being dishonest, if not with people who watch your channel, but with yourself, more with yourself? Is it kind of being dishonest?
If I didn't put it up,
Yeah.
well,
I mean, I haven't seen it. I don't know what's on it,
I
but
well, I mean, I don't know if it would be dishonest, but I guess what I would wonder is, am I making this choice purely for practical reasons? I think, oh, if I try to work together with them, maybe I could. But see, that would never work because I've already teased them too much, you know. So it's more fun this way anyway. And besides, I'm an ENTP. I roll like an ENTP, which means, and this is something I get into. I have problems with INTPs. I can tell Zachary right now. I suspect is a little frustrated with me. He and a lot of
but
other people are saying, let's let's put some of these. There's too many videos. People can't find it. I saw a comment today on one of his videos that basically said, "I wish you were putting your videos up on a different channel um, because this channel produces too much crap that I don't want to see," something like that, right? Which is
or kind of get
fine.
lost in the ether.
Well, he said it cluttered his feed, but I don't quite understand that because my feed is a number next to the channel that I subscribe to.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just a number. But
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with it, right? All Zach's videos is in playlist, right?
I'm sorry, say again.
All of Zach's videos.
Yeah, they are in playlists. But I think what I concluded today is a good idea is to try to use that to our advantage by saying, well, look, YouTube does not afford a good means to organize and deal with so much diverse content, but having that much content that needs to be organized means there's a good reason for people to go to the website and a good reason to structure our website so that it is better organized. So that we've got, you know, drop down menus that say, that at first that drop down like first it says main category. You click on one of those, it drops down subcategories like that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So you can easily find small, reasonably sized, quick to get to stuff. And ideally, it'd have some sort of parametric search function where you can say where it would say search by person, search by topic, search by number of people, search by format or whatever, and you can click. I want at least two people, and I want no politics, and I want Zach to be one of them, like that kind of search.
Hmm.
Well, why not make separate channels? I mean, if you, Tiff, and Zach are like the main dudes, why don't you all make three separate channels to have more personal content? While if you want to stay more of a popularized center, use it on here.
Well, because fundamentally, that's not my model at all. My model is that I don't want to have that model. I do not accept that. My model from the very beginning, the one thing I said right away from the beginning is, I am not going to do that. I'm not going to require myself to make my channel be all about the same thing, and I'm not going to listen to anybody who tells me take your channel that's got five different kind of things and split it into five different channels. Because my whole point is I want to find a way to change the paradigm on a YouTube channel such that either it alters the way that people think about a channel, like, oh, I like this channel because they give me a variety of choices. I just pick one or two that look interesting. I leave the rest for later. That's a good thing. That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Or, as I'm thinking now, it's evolving as, well, this is taking advantage of producing so much content that YouTube's platform legitimately can't handle it. And thus, we have a absolutely legitimate reason to direct people to the website, and people have a legitimate reason to go to the website. They're going to prefer to interface with our material there if they interface with our material regularly. Our website can allow people to set their feed specifically such that they say, I only want shit that's, I want, ideally, you have a lot of feeds and you say, okay, I do want to know when Zach puts a solo video up, but that's all I care about. I don't want to see anything but Zach's solo videos. Then you just get that feed. So, I mean, that's what I want to do to take advantage of the fact, rather than lament the fact, that this channel is not conventional in its structure, nor in its quantity of production, nor in its diversity of types of production.
And that's a good thing, right?
I think so. Everybody keeps
Yeah.
telling
Because
me it's not.
ultimately, you will find. I mean, people who like it will flock to it. I mean, that's the way it always works. You get an audience that like what you put up, what you have right now. You don't have to change, and you grow on that audience. People who like it will come to it. You don't have to seek out more people who might not like uh,
And this is
your.
why, yeah, you're right on the fucking nose, and it's why it's important that I was doing it like this from the very beginning. Always, lots of different things, and I've intentionally said, like, okay, I've done a lot of personality shit. I should put up some different stuff so that people don't expect. I want everyone to expect that they know, well, if I'm going to subscribe to it, I have to put up with a lot of shit maybe I don't like. Hopefully,
There you
some
go.
that you might think you do like. But if we do get a subscriber, my theory is they're going to be more durable.
Hmm.
They're not gonna come and go with I didn't like that video, I'm unsubscribing, because they know going in that I approach these videos with a different mindset a little bit. I give it a little bit of wiggle room because I'm looking at it as more pick which color rock you like, rather than um, I'm always gonna get a red rock when I go there and I'm always gonna like that red rock, but I can find red rocks here too, and it's worth the 5 seconds it takes me to look at the 10 videos they've uploaded since last I checked.
Exactly. That's
Well,
what playlists are for, right? That's what they got playlists for.
it is. Unfortunately,
I think with like any
no.
maybe
You go, Mr.
oh
Haberdasher.
um I think with like any type of topic, as long as you either upload daily or upload often, with like anything, you could make a career off of it. Um, I mean, there's so much content out there that, and there's such a huge group that the only thing you literally have to do is persevere or commit to a project for long enough.
I think you're absolutely right.
Hmm.
I think you are absolutely right. And but see, the thing is, I want my project to be as high ceiling as possible. And I am still operating under the assumption and under the belief, I guess. I don't assume it to be the case, but I believe it to be the case that the approach I'm taking has a higher long-term ceiling than any conventional approach that people advocate. I could be wrong, and I can't exactly justify that claim. It's a prediction, but I'm learning to trust my instincts on certain things, and I think it's just a matter of seeing how it develops and structuring the architecture so that it's as inclusive as possible and as responsive as possible to maximizing people's ease of access of finding what they want when they want.
It's a brilliant idea. I think it's a brilliant idea. You get different people. It can always stay interesting. You get different people with different personalities, different ideas. They come together and they have it out. And people who like that variation in content will come to it. I mean, I like that idea. It's long lasting,
That's true. It does have a longer shelf life, one would hope, than some other formats because
and
it's
it's
open
different. I
ended.
mean, you don't get much like this on YouTube.
I don't really know, to be honest. I have not never done the thing that everyone probably assumes I've done, which is researched and looked around YouTube and seen what's out there and compared myself. I try not to do that. When I do watch other videos, I tend to make angry response videos. And it's just for fun too. It's not like I'm actually angry. It's just something I do because somebody says something I think is dumb or whatever. And I really get overdoing that because it's kind of childish. But I'm kind of childish. I don't know what to say about that.
An
You know what would
audience.
actually
Go ahead.
You know what would actually be? I mean, I ain't like your commander or in chief or anything. Or I'm just making a suggestion that maybe it might be a little cool to see that because it helps build the community that people are going around doing videos based on the comments of their own videos, making a couple of jokes, a little bit of laughter, showing you that you know your subscribers and all that.
Right. Well, I should do that. You're right. I would like to engage more with the participants' own content. Unfortunately, what I need is what you did, in which I was able to participate with yours a little bit, and I need everybody who wants me to do that to do what you did, which is tell me directly and send me a link. Because what I am not doing and what I don't want to do is spend my time um,
Seeking out.
looking around me in YouTube. I find that a dangerous thing to do psychologically for me. Right now,
Yeah.
when I do
Yes,
watch
true.
shit, I tend to find myself um, making enemies where none exist.
Don't worry, I've made some angry videos, and I've deleted them right off my YouTube after I uploaded. Was it? You heard the fellow PewDiePie?
Yeah, I've heard of him. I see him in my YouTube Red thing all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, yeah, that's because he's the number one subscribed YouTuber in all the world. And I made a video of like being angry at him, and then I uploaded it, and then a day later I slept on it. I realized I act kind of like a child, so I was insecure, and I deleted my own video.
Well, remember, you can always set into private, which I would always recommend rather than deleting, because then you can change your mind again later.
Yeah.
Um, for me, my solution to these sort of things is to make more videos and to bury it with more content. I, I, I only very rarely do I delete a video, almost never, and usually it's because of some sort of technical problem with it if I do. And as far as like regretting a video, I've taken a few down, like unlisted them. One that I made about Metasoap, I took down. I regretted some of the things I said in it. I thought it was too harsh, and I thought that it wasn't fair, so I took it down. But that didn't help me because my opponent wasn't being fair either, and yeah, it was a no-win situation for me. If I left it up, she would have yelled at me for leaving it up. If I took it down, she would have yelled at me for taking it down. So I don't know. Regardless, but almost never do I take one down because I want I want to behave as though it's okay for me to fail.
Yeah, and if
It
you ever
kind of
wrong,
is, right?
if you're ever wrong, right, you can just post another video that said, "Well, don't listen to me in this other video.
Right,
I didn't think it's true." Right?
right. And the other thing is, I I like having a body of videos that's so large because if somebody comes with a certain attitude that NTPs are prone to, but especially ENTPs, of, oh, you think you're smart, eh? I'll show you, which is common.
Yeah.
They realize that I don't have to. They have a daunting task because if they're my first response is because I'm trying to be peaceable in general with commenters, even those who come rolling in with some attitude. My first response is usually, well, if you don't like this video, you should try some of these other ones over here, in which I advocate an alternate position to this one, and that usually makes them realize, oh, he's not gonna get. I'm not gonna drag him into a fight without a lot of work, you know. So that to me seems like a peaceable approach to dealing with that when it happens.
And people take a lot of shit personal too, right?
It depends on the type.
Hmm.
Some types take everything personally, and some types don't really take shit personally. Other NTPs don't. I mean, that's the thing is, when two NTPs throw down like me and Bo did today, and it got, I was slapping him around the room. Um, he was trying to use his vague critical theory bullshit from debate. He's a former debater, he's a former policy debater, in fact. And so
Uh,
he wants to run this fucking. He thinks he's gonna use his tricks on me, but no, that's not gonna work, dude. So he, but I knew I had no concerns about him at all because he's an ENTP. He originally identified himself as an INTP, but he's obviously an ENTP. And he had when I started asking him about it, he had the ideas backwards. He was like, "Well, because I'm my brother's um, all about thinking about the possibilities and he doesn't really act that much. He just thinks about the possibilities. Whereas I just am impulsive and act out the possibilities. So I'm an INTP, and like, no, dude, you got that backwards. You got that totally backwards.
yeah, it's not the real way.
So yeah. Anyway, he's an ENTP, and I know when I finish that fight, I have no concerns about his feelings at all. None. I know he's fine. Same with Felix. When I threw down Felix in the van and we're freaking screaming at each other, not a second of concern. At the end of the fight, I know we're both fine. INTPs, I don't necessarily know that. And
We don't
every
say it, but we don't take it personal either.
I know. Well, you guys are a close second in not taking things personally to ENTPs. ENTPs genuinely don't take things personally because of our seventh slot FI. Uh, today when I was saying how I hope I didn't hurt anybody's feelings or whatever, Mister no, not Mister Haberdasher, but eccentric M was talking, and he talked about feeling guilty. And it took a little while to process, and he's like, and then I realized, oh, is that what that is? Is that why I'm bringing this up right now? Because I feel guilty? I'm pretty sure that's not what that is. But it could be. I think I'm feeling FE anxiety. There might be a disharmonious relationship out there now. I think it's different than feeling guilty.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Um, did you ask me a question?
No, I'm just leaving space for others to speak.
And to me, it's about ideas, right? I mean, I don't take stuff personal because if I'm passionate about something, I'm debating or I'm arguing, I'm yelling at somebody, even if I'm really angry, I'm I'm. It's about the idea. I'm not angry at the person. I'm angry at the idea, right?
Right,
I can imagine ENTPs is the same way.
right. Well, and that's the thing is because we're not attached to the ideas. NTPs in general are because of the introverted thinking means that we are we find the ideas in our head malleable in the sense that we can reposition all the pieces in different ways and see how things can make sense, yada, yada, yada. So, because we're not attached to any particular formulation except those upon which we have large amounts of axiomatic shit built, and even then, ENTP is not even attached to that. I'm not actually attached to any of my stated positions. I'm just attached to the fact that they're consistent. But
Um,
go ahead.
no. Well, I think that's like where I kind of differ between you two because I kind of, for me, it's more I have faith in my ideas rather than knowing whether knowing scientifically or factually that they're good. And when I do get criticized on something, it's not more the idea. It's the idea. Well, it's more that I feel like I'm being made fun of, or it's the specific person that more bothers me than I guess the insult, or kind of a bit of both.
So it's
I
like
take
who's coming
criticism
from?
very hard.
Would you say it's the attitude of the person saying the words rather than the content of the words themselves that cause you to feel that response?
Is it like the way they say it, or what?
Well, I guess it hurts in any form of being criticized, whether being cursed. But I guess it would hurt more if I was being criticized legitimately. Where like if they were to tell me that I've done something wrong with factual evidence, I would get kind of hurt because I would feel like I didn't pull my best or do my best at that kind of thing.
Would that motivate you to do better, or would that cause you to withdraw?
Uh, I think motivate. I want to say motivate. Yeah.
INFPs are intriguing. I want
Yeah.
to I want to understand what it means to be an actualized INFP. In other words, I'm somebody who believes that there's an ideal form of each type. It's going to vary somewhat by individual. No two ideal. If you have two ideal INFPs, they won't be identical, but they will share some common abilities. They'll share an ability to utilize their powers and an ability to mitigate the impacts of their weaknesses. And as far as what the INFP's powers are, I need to think about that more. I don't really know. That's not because now look, you might think, oh, that means he thinks there aren't any. It's not. It's just it's a type I only recently started thinking about, and I haven't really thought about it that much. And I need to figure it out because I know that each type has a certain context, a certain life that they can build that is perfect for their type, and that if they get to live that life, that perfect life for their type, that they can attain something that is you might call type actualization, and that would be something where you are happy enough that you can be you can use the powers of your type for maximum good impact and be hamstrung almost not at all by the handicaps of your type.
Fair enough.
Well, I have this habit of pausing every time somebody like starts to talk. Again, um, I forgot to mention something now that I've had a bit to stew over is the fact that I do retreat and I do run away, but because I get scared and it hurts me. But lately, as I grow older and I guess learn to myself, I kind of take that pain and I use it as a way to motivate myself. I kind of tell myself, well, if you don't want to hurt like this anymore, improve yourself. Keep going.
Hmm.
Zach Attack, are you here? You're an INFP too, I believe. Yes. Well, he may or may not be here. I'm not sure. He looks like he might be offline, or I'm not sure.
Offline, yeah.
The ISFP. Okay, well that's different and has their own unique um, type actualization as well. So the reason I like the idea of type actualization is it's a much more practical understanding of self improvement than another other alternatives. At least the way I understand it, because under my construction of type actualization, it's about changing your life to match your type, not changing yourself to be more like some other type, which is the type of the person who's telling you what advice that you should follow. you know, most advice you get as far as actualization and stuff is how you can be more like my type, but people don't really understand that's what they're doing. So type actualization at least says to to respect the validity of your own nature, you need to make changes to your life structure such that it accounts for society's devaluing of those parts of you that society devalues.
So it's making changes within yourself first in order
Well,
to affect.
I mean, let me give you an example. So the INTP, the part of the INTP that society does not value is the INTP's inaction, the INTP's difficulty committing to a course and following through, the INTP's procrastination habits, stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
people hate me for it.
well, my position on type actualization is you need a life that rewards you for those things that you do regardless of the the protocols of completion that people often expect one to fulfill. So the problem is, of
Hmm.
course, we don't have endless amount of flexibility in that. We don't get to just say, okay, well, I'm going to have a job where what I do is I get hired by people who make a lot of money to go around and tell other people why they're wrong. That'd be a good job for me, but it's not how I'm going to have. I'm not going to be able to do that, right? So Zach Attack says TWFP has helped me to realize I need to remember to nurture my primary functions instead of just doing the opposite of what I'm good at in an attempt to improve myself. Thank you, Zach Attack, for saying that. I appreciate hearing that feedback. It's something I hope people will find useful if they want to, which is the simple idea that certain in the world society is set up to reward certain things and to frown upon other things, and that all types are told about themselves, uh, you are bad because. What that because is going to depend on your type. It doesn't matter what it is. There is a failure to contextualize those statements if we don't talk about people in terms of their type and their nature, but just compare it to some standard thing that is supposed to apply to everybody, right? That's not going to work, I don't think. So I think if we're going to tell people, if you're going to tell us a kid, like, you're too hyper, you just can't stay in your seat, there's something wrong with you, then we should be telling the kid, oh, well, you're an ENTP or an ESTP or whatever. You need to be doing something that is suitable for someone with your nature. And that's
Yeah,
not here in this classroom. So why don't you go home and figure out what it is you need to do instead?
but we don't have that.
We don't. So
Yeah, it's
what?
sad.
So what do we do in the status quo then? If you're an INTP and you're
How
the
do we
thing that's
change it?
the thing that's not valued, well, there's a couple strategies, right? Strategy one is to behave more in accordance with the valued nature than your own, which is to say, you can say, let's listen, unify self. I just have to force myself. I just got to beat myself up whenever I don't do anything, get something done, or got to figure out a way to take an action plan. I got to watch this video on procrastination, how to get over it. That's one possible approach to dealing with it. The other possible approach to dealing with it is to change others' expectations by talking directly about this, by simply saying, look, I know it might be frustrating to you that I'm not going to commit to that, but the fact is, you don't want me to commit to that because I probably won't follow through. And this is something that people of my type have an issue with. And to the extent that I do take action and follow through, it's almost always going to be because it's what I want to do and because it's not what I'm supposed to do.
Guys, I think we're forgetting the most important thing.
What's
Where's
that?
where's my metaphorical bag of rocks?
Oh, yes, Brian, I forgot to give you one. Here is your bag of rocks.
Yay!
This bag has 6 rocks in it. There you
Good
go.
job, Apper.
Yeah.
I know, it's a happy occasion. Listen, whenever in life you have a chance to do something that's going to get you a free bag of rocks, do that thing. That's rule number 1. Really, that's all you need to know about type actualization. When offered free rocks, take them. But on a more serious note, I think that the idea that people can find the life that's suited for their type is significant and important. I've seen ENFP friend, right, Jennifer Monson. What does she need? She needs a life of a lot of play, but also a lot of feelings gratification and stuff like that. Well, she's a housewife of what I guess would be a INTP or possibly an INTJ. I didn't really talk to her much, and she's lives in like a big mansion. She's got several little Aryan children, and and she posts on Facebook about doing what she wants when she wants to, and she's got a little bit of responsibility. She's got get the kids out of school, and cook them dinner and stuff like that. Uh, that's the life she needs to have. She needs that much liberty. She needs that kind of responsibility, and she needs to have that little constraint regarding the specifics of it. Well, she's got to deal with 2 things a day: drop the kids off, pick them up. Even an ENFP can deal with that.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
I think the INTP life. I'll tell you this, Unify. I got an INTP friend, and she makes a lot of money on eBay. A lot of money. And what she does is she goes to thrift shops and she knows certain brands of clothes that are they get good money on eBay that thrift stores don't yet realize get good money on eBay because they don't pick through clothes very carefully. And she finds those examples of those brands, purchases them for $1 or $2, and sells them for $50 each or whatever. The reason it's a good job for an INTP to do something like that is because it's that kind of schedule, which is to say, you get a bug up your ass and you go out and you buy your 5 or 6 shirts that you gotta buy, that you find. And you spend all day, maybe one day, half a day, looking at a bunch of places and find a couple things. And then you come home and then you just sit on it and you don't do anything for a while. And eventually you get another bug up your ass and you list them all. And then they sell, and then you feel pressure and you go, Jesus Christ, I gotta fucking ship these things. Finally you do. Just before you're about to get a bad feedback or something. You know, that's that requires the INTP to get three bugs up his ass to actually get money between an idea and money, and none of them
Yeah.
require maintenance in between. See, that's the key thing: non-maintenance tasks.
That's
And
what I like.
Mr. Haberdasher, I have no idea. Let's see. Okay, let me think. You are FINE, right?
Okay,
FINTISE.
okay. Let me just get out of the way. I do not know I do not know FISTNE
Okay.
any of that.
Okay.
And to
So
be honest, I really don't know what type I am. I
you're an
guess I go by
INFP.
whatever anyone else says.
I think you're an
I
INFP.
genuinely.
And what that would mean would be that you lead with introverted feeling, which means that you assume other people can take care of their own emotions. You need to worry about how you're feeling. The alternative is I don't need to worry about how I'm feeling. I'm not fussy. I need to worry about how other people are feeling because I need to manage their emotions. That's the extroverted feeler type. And the thing is, yes, introverted feelers care a lot about how other people feel in any given moment, but they don't feel responsible to manage those other people's feelings. So, if in fact you're an INFP, which I believe you are, but that's just my opinion again, then you would lead with introverted feeling as your dominant function. What that means is that in any given moment, you probably are very aware of how you feel. If you feel anxiety, if you feel comfort, or if you feel shame, or if you feel embarrassment, or if you feel pride, or if you feel happiness, or anything else, you probably are confident about. If I ask you to give me how you feel, you probably tell me how you feel.
Yeah.
As opposed to an ENTP who, if you ask him at any given moment how he feels, he'll give you an answer. That's that is
Hmm.
what he thinks is the proper answer to give in that context. Until he gets older and he'll say, "Actually, I don't really know because I have introverted feeling in the seventh slot." Regardless, in your second slot, you have my dominant function, extroverted intuition, which is all about possibilities. Now, if I, in my cognitive function stack, I go, let me. I exist in a world of possibilities, always perceiving possibilities, and then using the tool of thinking to think about those possibilities. What your function stack is you are awash in a world of your own feelings, and then using the tool of possibilities on that framework of universe, which is your own feelings. Now, I'm not quite sure how that works. I don't understand it. I'm sure it works in some fashion to produce some outcomes for you that could be either good or bad, depending on how well you use this power, so to speak. But I don't get the power. I don't understand what it is. I don't understand what it means to use extroverted intuition on your own feelings because I don't even understand what my feelings are.
I guess from just from judging how you said everything, that if one benefit that I may have over someone like you who thinks as a smart person, and I think with my feelings or whatever. If both of us were to I don't know, eat a ghost pepper or something like ridiculously spicy, you may give up while my feeling stack may push me to conquer it. That might be a benefit.
I believe you would probably win that contest. I know I do give up when things get painful. I do for sure. I get
Okay.
difficult. I give up when things get difficult. When I don't. When no longer think I got a fighting chance at something, or if I think it gets too laborious or it's going to take too much detailed attention, I go, not my game. And I give up.
I guess longevity might be the advantage we may have.
Well, I like your stick to itiveness answer. I think there's another thing, which is I think that conclusions that the thinker draws are more likely to be false for them, and conclusions the feeler draws are more likely to be false for others. So I think you're less likely to make a bad decision in the sense of somebody making a decision that you regret because you thought you should prioritize this, but it turned out you should have prioritized some other value that's more important. For ENTP, that's a problem sometimes, especially when we're younger. How do you feel about regret? Do you take actions you regret a lot, or not?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, hell to the yeah. Every time I make something inadequate, and I'm very socially inept, and to such a degree that I do believe I may have a disability being social. But whenever I do make a mistake in a social scenario, it's scarred heavily in my head so that I remember the next time something like that pops up, I won't do whatever is not socially acceptable or awkward or cringy or whatever.
Okay, well, that makes me reevaluate you then. Because that makes me think you've got FE, not FI. If you're worried about other people's perceptions of you like that, that's a normal FE thing. So, if that's the case, if you're really concerned about being cringy, like your worst nightmare is to be incredibly awkward, and then you have to think about that over and over again forever. Oh my god, I have to think about that again and again. How I made that awful mistake, and oh fuck, that thing. Okay, so that's an FE thing in combo with SI. So if you got FE and SI, then how are you with keeping track of your shit? Like keeping track of small objects and stuff. Are you orderly?
Okay, hold on. From what I heard, all I heard was, "Are you good at keeping track of your shit?"
Right. Are you orderly? Do you keep track of your objects? Do you lose them a lot or leave them behind or forget them?
Well, out of my whole house, I do have I am the most cleanest. I do have a bit of order, but it still does have like bed bugs and other stuff. I guess yeah. I guess I'm a bit orderly. It gives me comfort to have something orderly.
Do you know do you know well where you will be and when? Do you know well your schedule?
Do I know where I'll be in my schedule?
And do you know well your own schedule? Where you'll be, when you'll be there, things you got to do later today, things you can't forget before tomorrow. Are you good at that kind of stuff? Do you have those kind of conversations with yourself?
Well, aside from specific time sets, like schedules, I do have a good memory of what I have to do each and every day.
Do you spend some parts of your day having this kind of conversation? Okay, don't forget we've got that 12:30 thing, and then after that I need to call Tom about that other detail. And once I paid that bill there, then I should go there, and then after that I'll go home. Okay, so just review that list of things I got to do. All right, got it. Do you have those conversations ever, or not?
Uh, yeah, for the most part, but for like a 20-year-old and not like a I don't know how old you are.
I'm 45. Um, okay. Do you do you think that you do make a lot of those kind of social mistakes, or that because you're so attuned to the cringe element that you actually are effective at managing yourself socially in general?
I think that there have been scenarios where I think I'm so awkward that I become awkward, but I think genuinely I am awkward. I mean, um, I've been diagnosed with autism by a doctor, and I think that contributes a lot to my own embarrassment because I mean, I'm not aware in the situation. It usually would take me a couple of hours to be aware of what I've done wrong, but when I do become aware, it becomes something that is lodged in my head, kind of scarred, um, and stuff like that.
But you're clearly not autistic.
Right.
Oh,
There's nothing wrong with you.
well, no, I mean, what was it? I was diagnosed on the lower end of the spectrum because
Yeah.
there's like not
So
like a
now, what's the
specific.
purpose of this? What is the purpose of getting you diagnosed? To tell you what's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with you.
You know,
You're okay.
I kind of use it as an excuse for myself.
That's fine.
That
Listen, if you're doing it yourself, it's different. Okay, that's different. If other people are telling you this diagnosis because they're not comfortable with your nature, then that's their problem, and that's a big difference. Okay, so I just want you to know that to the extent that you want to go talk to people about difficulties you have and seek diagnoses, that's a good thing. Then you should do whatever you want to do. But to the extent that it's being put upon you by others who are suggesting there is something wrong with you, there's not an idea that you came up with yourself, I would suggest that you consider that ontological violence against you and that you don't accept that and that the diagnoses of others should be taken with a huge pile of salt. Because
Mm.
whatever you have going on in your head, I'm asking you questions about it because I don't quite understand how types that have cognitive functions that are very different from my own work. If I didn't even understand about cognitive
okay?
functions and types, I might assume that my own type was somehow naturally superior or preferable and go around telling other people that there's something wrong with them because they're not more like me. And I think a lot of people do that. And I think a lot of doctors do that. So maybe maybe you do behave in a way that's not entirely conventional. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a good judge of that sort of stuff,
But at
regardless.
the same time, you are normal.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with you. You're okay the way you are, and you shouldn't be trying to be other than who you are because somebody else is imposing their type bias on you. Instead, what we ought to do is try to figure out how to structure our lives so that we can be as happy as possible and comfortable as possible and fulfilled as possible with our unique set of needs as per our stack of cognitive functions. I think it's good to take those sort of actions. I think it's good to listen to people who tell you that there's nothing wrong with you and that you know that you know you better than anybody who would try to tell you otherwise. And if you think that, then that's fine. And you know, but don't let others don't let others
It's not
dismiss you.
others. It's myself. I am how I talked about how I'm severely scarred by social inconveniences, awkwardness, and I I was diagnosed with autism, but I think lately now I've just been kind of using that as a crutch to uh, tell everybody, hey, if I act awkward, then that's okay because that's my autism, and people shouldn't blame me for that.
Mr. Haberdasher, I have a
Um,
question for you. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Unify, but the question is very simple. Has your life experience been the people around you in school or at home or wherever have have consistently celebrated you for your nature and suggested that being the way you are is right and true and just? Is that what you've experienced your whole life? Probably not. To say that it's not other people is to misunderstand the nature of childhood. We are told there is something wrong with us from early on in direct ways and indirect ways and lots of ways. We're told that every time we're told to stop behaving like X if X is kind of our nature. Even if I go ahead, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh no, that's true, and as a result, you people call you an outsider, right? And as a result, you feel like an outsider, and you treat yourself as if you don't belong, which is what they treat you like, which you shouldn't do that.
And our job as NTPs is to attack them on your behalf. That's what we do.
Yeah.
That's our fun. We have our own type of despair. Each type has their own despair, you know. Your despair is something that, unfortunately, you have as your dominant conscious function. If it's despair, that's what you're experiencing. If it's joy, that's what you're experiencing. So the potential you have then is if you get things structured such that life is rewarding you for being you rather than giving you pushback all the time.
Yeah.
If you can somehow do that, then you get to know a satisfaction that I will forever be denied. I don't get to know satisfaction and contentment. That's my curse.
I feel sorry for you then.
Well, seventh slot. You're dominant FI, and you and I are somewhat alien to one another. I can't conceive of, like, right now. I feel something like warmth or something. I guess. I guess that's the emotion, and it causes me to tear up a little bit. But that's how I know I'm experiencing an emotion. I have no idea. It's like I am so lost about it. I was talking to Delilah tonight in the car, and she's an ENTP as well, and she was saying, I know I love my boyfriend because when I tell him that, I don't feel like I'm lying.
Really?
Because she doesn't know what it feels like to love somebody, right? We're not quite sure what that means. It doesn't. It seems too fuzzy to mean anything to me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean we don't feel love. It just means we don't know what it looks like. We don't know how to recognize it exactly, or we don't know.
Okay, Felix. You're complaining about love. You're not actually gonna. You're probably not gonna believe this, but I have not been hugged since like third grade, and I'm not even kidding. I haven't had a physical contact with anyone in that kind of sense. So
That's
no, but
appalling.
Nothing wrong with
what?
that.
That's appalling that's happened to you. I'm sorry to hear that. It,
It's okay. I just hurt severely inside.
yeah, that's pretty awful,
Uh,
man. It's really awful. Listen, I don't know. I don't know how to fix that kind of problem. I know that you're safe here. You're welcome here. Man, I can't give you a hug here. If I could, I would. For
Yeah, me
sure.
too.
Alright? So,
It'd be long and weird.
yeah. Well, as NTPs, we'd both walk away from it and go, okay, Unified, now let's discuss these things that happen to us. Those, I think, are emotions. Let's talk about that. Let's try to analyze it and figure out more what they are. That's probably how we would walk away from the experience. Um, but look, I think it's the NTP's job in life is to be the strong freaks because and we need the gentle freaks to take care of us in their own way too. You know, I mean, we need you guys as well because we don't even know we don't even understand how fragile we are, right? You understand your own fragility in a way that I don't and can't. It comes upon me and takes me over, and I'm sobbing and wishing that somebody would help me. And I have no idea where it came from, and then it goes.
I don't know
So,
how to make them feel better.
yeah, I don't know either.
so you know how like normally average people, whenever they're sad, they get obsessed and they listen to sad songs. Um, yeah, most people do this, but what a lot of people don't know is the fact that it's a lot more healthier whenever you're sad to actually listen to positive music, and that cheers you up more faster than uh, any any sad song.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Really?
That was just a fact I wanted to share.
I'm glad to
I
hear
feel
it.
like
It helps me.
I feel like I need sad music
You need sad
in order to
music?
feel something. Yeah,
Yeah, I've heard that
I
from a
don't
lot of
feel much.
INTPs. INTPs often say that they need to experience sad media to experience sadness.
Yeah, it's like a vent.
Oh, alright.
See, INTPs and ENTPs are different in some ways, in the sense that when I got divorced, I didn't listen to sad music because it took me about 2 months to realize I was sad. Seriously.
Just
I was
yeah.
fine until one day, it was nearing Thanksgiving, and I guess my feelings were broiling inside of me, unbeknownst to me. And, I was going to a family dinner thing with my family and my ex-wife. So it was like a family reunion for the family I lost. And I said to myself, she abandoned me with her when I needed her most. As soon as I said those words, even though those words are not true, they're a really reductive sort of summation of a bullshit interpretation, a bullshit unfair interpretation of what happened. But that's how I felt. And then once I articulated it precisely, then it was just a flood of waterworks. But I hadn't
Mhm.
realized that's what I felt until I said it in words that made sense to me.
So how you
Would you
feel?
say some?
Go ahead, Mr.
You
H.
go.
But
Okay. Would you say somebody who has the feeling stack is more likely to commit self harm or suicide?
Yes, INFPs in particular. But I don't think you are one anymore.
Oh.
I don't know if you are one. I if you are an
Ugh.
INFP, that would make then you'd be awash in your own feelings. But the thing is, they're not the only type of person who's going to experience pain if they've had a rough time of it. And it sounds to me like you've had a really rough time of it. And if that's the case, then it's hard to determine type. Given your FE driven thing, I'm thinking possibly ISFJ because they have FE where INFP has um, has any, and that might make more sense. Now, if you were ISFJ, your down function would be SI, which means you're spending all your time thinking about stuff that's already happened, and getting obsessed with past sufferings and past wrongs and stuff like that.
you do that?
Oh, by hell! Like, I experienced like short term. What do they call like the whole Vietnam experiences? Like, there are experiences in my past where that is so traumatic
Post
that when I
traumatic
can't help
stress
myself.
syndrome. Okay, so and you just go over and over again the thing that you did wrong and the social event and how embarrassed you were and how they must think you're an idiot and stuff like that.
Hmm.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. I literally like pause and freeze, and I say random words, and my head starts to shake
And do you go
for
shame and
like
anxiety, shame
about
and
5.
anxiety, shame and anxiety, shame and anxiety? Ah! You do that.
It's okay. I'll reenact this.
Okay, let's see it.
Fuck, 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 fuck. That's it. That's exactly. That's the best like non-real
Yeah, I
reaction
know.
you kind of get.
I know that time. I know that the time that miserable time that you're spending when you're doing that. I know it very well because I had my rituals. I'd have my shame and anxiety rituals in the morning. I'd get up, I'd get in the shower, and I'd say shame and anxiety, shame and anxiety, shame and anxiety, shame and anxiety, shame and anxiety. It was because I was in a bad place, you know, and I had no solution available to me except uh, hating myself. That was my solution. It was a terrible solution, but that's what it was. It was, well, Eric, since you don't seem to be able to change your behavior and become an acceptable human being, What you can do, at least, is be just about the whole thing and hate yourself like you should. And then maybe, at least then nobody will be able to tell you anything about how you're a bad person, because you can at least point out then, listen, to the extent that I'm bad, I punish myself more than anybody else, so you don't need to punish me anymore. This is sort of my reasoning. But what I will tell you is, if you're an ISFJ and you've got NE in the fourth slot, which means extroverted intuition, your possibilities function is in the fourth slot if you are an ISFJ, then that means it's difficult for you to figure your way out of an SI trap by turning to new possibilities. But that is going to be the only way out, because SI by definition is about the past mostly.
What? I didn't catch that very last word.
Okay, hold on. What I said was that for you, if you are in an SI trap like that, where you're stuck, fixated on things that you've done wrong in the past, quote unquote. They may not actually be wrong, but ways in which you failed to live up to the internalized standards, the standards you've internalized. You've internalized some standards from the people around your society or whatever, and you expect yourself to adhere to those standards. You're FE, so you're very interested in making sure that other people are pleased with you, but unfortunately, you've not experienced a lot of validation for how you are, and so as a consequence, you see FE as a weak spot where it's actually a strength for you, is your main tool function. But because you've not been validated in its usage at all, then you come to the natural conclusion that it's an area in which all you can do is fail. It's remotely possible that you're actually an ENTP, an extremely damaged ENTP. Based on the sock puppet thing, I think it's possible.
Because I had
ENTP, that's ENTP shit right there. That's not ISFJ shit, right? ISFJs,
Wait,
ISFJs
you
do
saw
much
that?
more normal things than that. Yeah, I saw it. Of course I saw it. You sent me the link, didn't you?
Yeah, me too.
So, I mean, that's a possibility too. I'm seeing in you probably the same function stack I've got. The more I talk to you, the more convinced I am of it. You've got FE, you've got SI, you got NE, you got TI. I don't know what order they're in. I don't know if you're an introvert. I think you're an extrovert who's been damaged by fucking bad people.
Okay, well, not getting like super personal, but back in my past, I've lived with 4 different families. I've been abused and whipped. I've even been kidnapped by my own mother, like no joke, like for like a couple of months.
How old are you?
20.
Are you out of the system?
What do you mean out of the system?
Well, it sounds like you were in some sort of foster system, yes?
That's a big I think I was in a foster system for a couple of months early on, but my aunt fought for me in court. She won and obtained custody over me and my brother.
Shit.
Because my dad wanted to get rid of me because my dad caught my stepmom abusing us, and she said it's either me or them, and he chose her over us.
Did you
Sorry, I mean I know.
I have a question. I have a question for you. Did you have a period of normalcy in which your parents cared well for you in early childhood, from like 1 to 3 years old or something?
Not in my memory. and
No,
I'm
no,
the oldest.
I don't mean in your memory. I mean, based on what you know, was there a certain time, like when you were under 1 years old, up to 1 years old, where things were good and you were very well cared for?
No,
Okay.
I was. Yeah, no.
Then I think you're an ISFJ. Because here's the thing, I'm increasingly convinced that types are determined by early childhood experiences and a little bit by some slightly later childhood experiences. And that children who are subjected to authoritarianism tend to turn out to be ISFJs.
Well, no, I wasn't even. I most of my childhood, I was never really taken care of. I was fed, but there weren't many rules at all. My parents really didn't care about me at all.
Okay,
That's what
so
I'm
then
trying to
maybe
say.
it's not authoritarianism. Maybe it's just children who are
Neglect.
not shown adequate love, or what I think of as
Oh,
adequate love. I don't know.
hmm.
Because I know an ISFJ, I know two ISFJs, my mom and my friend Dave Porter. Neither of them had what I would consider nurturing parents at all. That my mom had my grandmother who was attentive to her responsibilities as a mother, but who was probably a ESTJ, cold and not and dismissive of feelings and stuff entirely. My mom is an ISFJ, and I don't exactly understand why it would turn out like that. Except I think that actually now that I think about it, it would be like, okay, I'm experiencing problems here that I need to remember. If I do this next time, it's going to produce the same outcome. If I do this next time, I need to find out. I have as my fourth function in E possibilities. My first choice is to look to the past for either mistakes to avoid or protocols that worked. And I think that that's going to be naturally what you need to do. You need to be much more defensive in your orientation if you're not getting a lot of nurturing as a child. I think ENTP is the spoiled type. I think we have all of our needs met when we're little. And as a consequence, we're all possibilities first. And then thinking about it. Who cares about my own feelings? My feelings are always fine because I'm always well taken care of. Until later on, and then you realize you don't have any concept of it. It's in your seventh slot, and you realize what a handicap it is, right? So that's why it seems to make sense to me. I think an INTP is the same thing as an ENTP, except the INTP has less active parents. The INTP's parents take good care of them on a practical level and are adequately nurturing, but don't give the child a lot of extra attention and expect the child fundamentally to attend to his own entertainment.
True.
Is that how your
Very
parents were,
true.
Unify?
Yeah. Almost spot on.
Wow. I mean, and I just made that up right now. That's pretty good. Maybe it's true. Who knows?
Maybe you on to something.
Yeah.
So it can start out more nature, right? I mean, it can start out a nurturing thing, right? Where you develop your type and the traits can follow.
Yeah, I think the dominant function comes first, and then the third function comes second. Because you start with your dominant function, and then um, you need the other, whatever that is, either perceiving or judging. You need the other one to even make sense of reality in the same orientation. So you need the other introverted one. you've got introverted thinking. Well, that's your judging thing. Well, you need your introverted perceiving thing as well. So that's your SI. So I think those two come in like that, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what you have to, as you're growing into a consciousness, you are directing your attention towards one thing and away from something else. It's always got to be both those things at once. And so, since you're directing your attention towards your own thinking, you're also need some context in which to perceive that thinking. So you have to develop a sense of self. So that goes TISI. And then for you, what ends up happening, I think, is there's a battle between FE and um, NE for the second slot. But because the 1-3 is already set, it's always the case that NE is a better choice in the second slot than FB.
Because of like a balance.
Right, because it's like saying, well, I'm gonna go um, I'm gonna be aspirational about the metaphysical landscape that is the internal self. The self is an object through moving through time. I'm gonna be aspirational in that area. That's the third function for the INTP. And then I'm gonna have two judging functions. I'm gonna first judge it with my thinking. Then I'm gonna judge it with other people's feelings, and I'm going to relate it all to my internal perceptions. This isn't working, right? You got too much judging and not enough perceiving up there, and it just doesn't work. Like I know what it's like to be in the loop where you go, you just think about the past conversation you had, and feel shame about having said the wrong thing, and imagine yourself saying something different over and over again. That's what happens when the NE Dom tries to have SI be in the second slot instead of TI, which I remember when I was a kid being frustrated and realizing this isn't getting me anywhere. To just thinking about what I did, how I could have done something different in the past, isn't getting me anywhere. And then at some point, like the cognitive functions fall into their natural places, which is, well, for the NE, what I need is TI second, because that gets me somewhere, or FI, because then at least I'm being possibilities about my own feelings. But
What about people with autism or people with like mental disabilities? Do you think it's like a that imbalance of a function stack where you can have like a TI first and maybe FE next, like just some weird imbalance?
maybe I don't know exactly. I know that they say INTJs correlate with autism, and I can tell you, Mr. Haberdasher, you're not an INTJ. I'm pretty confident about that.
Yeah.
You don't sound like one. You don't. There's nothing about you that says INTJ. That the INTJ correlating with autism is about the fact that they have FI in the fourth slot, no conscious FE, so they appear to be sort of others' emotional state blind, and that's often what autism is described as. However, I've worked in special ed and I've had students who are severely autistic, non-verbal, not speaking, and stimming, doing this stuff.
Mm.
Now, to me, that seems like you're stuck in an SE loop of some sort where you're stimulating on external objects moving through space, but there's no judging function involved, or it's feelings, and there's no balancing function in some regard. So that as long as this produces a feeling, you just do it forever, or until something else, some other feeling motivated thing causes you to change your behavior. There's not any abstraction about it. Or the alternative on an autistic student is maybe there's all abstraction with no understanding of purpose or intention. So I had a student who he was a Chinese kid, and he talked all the time about Chinatown, and he was obsessed with all the different ways you could get to Chinatown on the bus. And he'd memorize all the bus routes, and he'd talk about them in school. And he'd say, "Today I'm going to take the 15 to the 22, and I'm going to ride to Chinatown." And I'd say, "Are you going to do that?" "Yes." Well, he's not really going to do that. He's saying, "Here's one thing I could do." He may even want to do that. Why does he care so much about the bus? Why would he get a great deal of satisfaction from riding on the bus to Chinatown? Maybe, I don't know. Hi, Zack Zack Attack. Nice to see you. Camera, you look like you're ready to fly a helicopter. Um, Yeah, so that's whatever that is. Let's stop this video. This is a long video. This is a good one. It's a peaceful video. See, this is what you do for me, Mr. Haberdasher. If you are impacted on ISFJ, as you'd be my dual type. And the reason they say ISFJs are the duals of ENTPs is that you calm us down. You make us not. You make us be less intense. So if you want to give people advice about being less intense and you want to do it wrong, you can do it like the ENTJs do. Make a video explaining to ENTPs how, from their place of superior wisdom, they can tell us what to do. Or you can do it like an ISFJ does, which is sort of by modeling how you don't have to be an asshole all the time.
True.
Thanks for watching.